October the 20th. William DeLucy, MD here of Amplify Trading. Just doing the briefing from an out of office location. So I just want to check first of all if everybody here in the rooms trading live, the Amplify Advanced rooms, if you can all hear me clearly, and if you can see my charts and my ladders, then we'll be good to get going. Excellent. Okay, if the quality dips for any reason, of course, let me know and I'll adjust. So let's have a quick review of yesterday before I get onto the main chunk of this morning briefing, which will be all about the ECB today. You've already had, I hope, some interesting research sent to you from Deutsche Bank, Danske Bank, our own Amplify Trading research sent to you by email that I will be covering. But first of all, let's have a look at yesterday. And the main mover, I would say, yesterday was oil after that data. So we had a DOE drawdown of 5.2 million barrels. So the headline, much larger drawdown than expected. However, as often with oil, there's immediate volatility after that data as the gasoline was a build. So the gasoline number negating the initial move. But this move in oil here, that was a good opportunity. Just looking at, I was sitting opposite Ben in the office at the time, and he was saying, everyone, look out for 51.50 or 51.53. We did have a lovely pullback to that price in oil, 51.50, and I believe Ben called that as a level as the previous level of resistance at 230. You can see just there if I draw an ellipse. We came back to test 51.50. More or less, we just got to the low of sort of 55, but we came back towards that level of 50.50 before then ramping higher. All has now changed, however, after that push higher in oil. If I'm just looking at a short-term 1 minute chart here, but now we're trading all the way back down, way below the 51.52, trading at 51.38. So oil has given back all of those initial gains. Even breaking through, of course, another reason for the 51.50 was that it was the high there on Friday the 14th, as Ben would have pointed out to you guys. But all of those gains taken back, and commodity currencies moving very much in the same direction. Here, overnight, you can see the Aussie dollar having a burst of support after that oil data, of course, positively correlated to the price of oil. The Aussie dollar has given back all of its gains. We had Canadian rate movement yesterday. I traded the Canadian dollar yesterday. Initially on the pop higher, we broke through the pivot level, tested R1, but then the Canadian dollar coming under pressure as well with oil. So oil, okay, we had a bit of volatility after that mixed data. The market chose to focus on the headline first and ignore the gasoline. So that was one thing that happened yesterday. We had US housing data, but otherwise it was all really, I think, relatively quiet, apart from a general weakening of the euro and dollar strength. That certainly felt like that weakening of the euro versus the dollar trend was continuing. Yesterday, we just couldn't get below S1 here. Do you remember 1.09855? Look how many times yesterday in the euro we tried to break below that level. This was going all the way from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock at night. A repeated attempt by the euro to break down below this S1 level. And guys, the euro is at a really interesting level now, technically. So going on to the briefing about the ECB, this is why this is going to be quite interesting. Let me just zoom out here. I'm just going to remove some of the studies. And remember, when you're looking back this far, you've got to go to continuation settings. Okay, so look at this in the euro US dollar. This is going back for the whole year. So the level where we're beating around now in the euro US dollar, you can see that was the low back in July, 1.0975. Just below that, we've got the low back in June. Can you see this on my chart on the euro USD? So it's just below that, we've got the summer low. And you can see how important this is. You know, last time we broke below this level was all the way back in March. And we have a triple bottom there, don't we? It's a bit more congested around the 1.82 level. But have these lines on your euro versus the USD, please. You notice I've got my chart. It's free of pivots. It's free of everything else. I'm just looking at these multi month lows in the Euro USD. So this one coming up right here, 1.09755. Check that out on your charts, please, guys, on the Euro versus the USD. Below that, 1.09445, as you can see. Okay, so that's the Euro, the levels in the Euro to look out for. As we get to the briefing, bit of dollar strength yesterday, but we just couldn't break through that level. So what else happened yesterday? Well, of course, we have the just checked on this site here, and we have the Clinton versus Trump latest stats. I don't know if anyone did stay up to watch the debate yesterday. It probably was the least anticipated debate, I should imagine. It was all for Hillary to lose, really. One major mistake, and Clinton would have suffered certainly more than Trump. Expectations of Trump now actually pulling this thing off are incredibly low. And it's just what a dislikable human being, really. He was asked, if he does lose, would he accept the result? This is, democracy. If you do lose, are you going to accept that that was the vote of the people? And again, his typical answer was, well, let's wait and see. I'll tell you when if it happens, I'll tell you then. I'll keep you in suspense. I'm not going to tell you now. I don't know. I think the novelty of it has finally worn out, and it's far on odds favourite now for Clinton to win this vote, just in less than 4 weeks' time, obviously. So not an outright clear winner of that debate, I would say, but definitely Trump wasn't able to gain any ground. Again, he shirked comments about respect for women. The only thing I did hear was that when he said to the microphone, nobody, and then he repeated, nobody respects women more than I do. And apparently there was audible laughter coming from the audience, as you would imagine. So let's have a look at the Mexican peso. If you want to have a look at it on your CQG, it's just MXMX. If you want to have a look at it on your CQG. Yeah, strong. Okay, strongest it's been for 4 weeks. Bear in mind, obviously, there has been dollar strength to counteract that, but last couple of days, pop high in the Mexican peso overnight, nothing too significant really. I think now, negative news about Trump is not going to move the markets as it perhaps would have done a few weeks ago. So Jimmy is saying, when they say he won't accept the results, what are the consequences of this? There's no consequence, Jimmy. There's nothing. He is now effectively a standalone candidate. The Republican Party do not represent him. If he doesn't represent the results, it's like a Remainer in Britain saying, "I don't like that vote." Unfortunately, it's happened, and that's the result. If you don't accept it, you don't accept it. It doesn't change anything. Okay, so let's get then to the main meat of the session then, which is really all about the ECB. I just want to bring up with you, have a look at the research sent to you. There's been an excellent review here from Danske Bank. So this is, if you don't do anything in the morning, if you're not going to trade this morning, it's no problem. You can see my lad on the right. I've just had a small DAX trade this morning. I haven't done too much. But before I get onto this Danske Bank report and review it with you guys, let's have a look at our thoughts on what we think is expected here. Now, just to put you in the picture, actually, perhaps a good way to look at this, to look at the ECB trajectory is to look at Bunds. Okay, these are German 10-year government bonds. So looking at the price of Bunds. And if you look at the price of Bunds over the last few weeks, this is since the beginning of October, can you see we've moved all the way from 166.35 down to 162.81. Bunds coming underweight because the language of the ECB has just changed slightly. Now, who can tell me? You tell me in this room, when are the ECB officially, as it stands, when are they going to stop their printing presses? When does QE stop? Look at that. The trading library, Fairs, Lauren, Jimmy, your answer was within a second. Absolutely. So when we talk about taper, what first things first, it's important to remember we're not actually that far away from tapering anyway. It's nearly November. It's 4 months away from tapering as it is. So just to bear that in mind. So what Draghi's been doing over the last few weeks, however, is talking up the taper effect because markets have been pricing in a continuation of the QE program, and they still are pricing that in, and it will still happen. I very much doubt there will be no more QE after March 2017. The markets would not accept that at all. But what Draghi's been doing is just talking slightly about how growth is being seen in the economy, how QE program has obviously done its work, how rates may not necessarily move lower following Japan's model, really. And that slightly hawkish tone has given a huge move in bonds. So really here, looking at what's the move there? Yeah, that's a 2% move in bonds since Draghi's changed his tone somewhat to become more hawkish. Now, it's really all about December. It's all about December in terms of when they will. One moment. Can I just check on Trading Live? You can still hear me clearly. Everything's still fine. Type a Y. It will be in December that they really judge this change. But one of the interesting charts here. Great. Let me bring it into you. Just showing how his slight shift into the hawkish tone has changed the expectations of when this hike will happen. One moment. So I'll just find it in a moment. The bar chart I was looking at, the expectations of when tapering will happen have been pushed out, but it's just a slightly more hawkish tone. So what I'd like you to think about, first of all, 12:45, there isn't going to be a huge amount, I think, of action at 12:45. Nobody really is expecting him to announce now a further QE package, or equally, no one's expecting an announcement now on a change on current rates. So, they're not going to go lower, and they're certainly not going to go higher. So it's not about 12:45. What it is about, however, is the language that he uses at 1:30. Okay, so 12:45 you might have a short flurry of activity, but it's at 1:30 where I want you to look out for a change in tone. And the bigger reaction here, in my opinion, especially looking at the euro, this is what I think will be the trade of the day. If I bring the euro up again, the bigger reaction will be he has been maneuvering markets to a slightly less dovish tone over the last 4 weeks, and you've seen that in what's happened to bonds. But because of the strength of the dollar now, the levels that the euro trade are at multi-month lows. And I think, should he be more dovish, or should he, for example, commit now to an extension in QE in December? Should he make it clear through his language that the ECB still have many options available, that inflation is still a long way from target, for example, that economic growth is still far from ideal? If on those dovish sounds we get a break of the euro below these key support levels, I think that extension, or the potential therefore for the extension, both below 109.755, so there's one trade. So if you do go short a break of that level, and let's say you're short 5 contracts, by all means try and scale some out on this next support level, 1.094. But the big trade will be if we break through that support level all the way back to the lows in March, because there's clean air here, guys, in the euro USD, and then that's a significant trade, and it's poised. Technically, it's poised. Fundamentally, if Draghi now reverts to a slightly more dovish tone, then I think that will be the trade, that break in the euro. So I want everybody to mark that on the charts, be ready for that. Should it happen, I think that would be the opportunity. Okay, so let's have a look at the calendar. What else is out? So that's at 12:45. Obviously, we have the headline announcement. Nothing too much expected, as I said. I don't think any change can be made to rates. 1:30, therefore, we've got the press conference. Also at 1:30, initial jobless claims coming out of the United States. You might find in equities, I don't know. I was thinking that the debate last night isn't likely to have too much of an impact. Like it's an 80%. Well, actually, who can tell me? However, just before we get all overconfident, looking at this chart again of who will win the presidency, how does that compare to how Brexit was lined up? Is Hillary looking stronger than the Remainers were looking before the Brexit vote? It's about the same, isn't it? It was about that in terms of odds. And we certainly learned something there. Yeah, just in the euro dollar there, then Ben is sharing a very decent wedge. So I've talked about that key level in terms of support, then going back down to the March low, but also you can see it's a declining wedge as well. Yeah, so probabilities are about as likely as the Brexit vote. But as I said, we all know what happened there. So US home sales then coming out at 3 p.m. So bear that in mind. So you get all the action out of the ECB at 1:30. That's happening at the same time as initial jobless claims. But I don't think, look, jobs data is not moving the market as it used to. The US has done well on jobs. It's hit its target. Just listen to Draghi. I know on the office we'll have him up on the screen. 3 o'clock then, US existing home sales, not insignificant data that will have an impact on markets as well, as we're looking for the resurgence of consumer confidence and house buying. So that's 3 o'clock. So here it is. It's 12:45, 1:30, 3 o'clock. They're the main action points for today. So do open that research that you've been sent, please, in by Vasily. And have a look at that Danske Bank research. We'll be talking about it through the morning. But that's it from me as a roundup. Keep an eye on the euro US dollar. Equities sideways, I reckon. Oil has given back all of its gains yesterday, but all the action due to come at 12:45. Okay, thanks very much, guys. I'll see you in the room shortly. Thank you. Bye-bye.